Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. I'm Mark Goldbridge, and are Arsenal in a crisis? Is this the beginning of a long goodbye for Mikel Arteta? Well, we spoke about this after the Liverpool loss at the weekend. And look, I respect a lot of Arsenal fans, and a few of them contacted me in the last 48 hours and said, "You're not an Arsenal fan, Goldbridge. What do you know about what's best for our club? This might not be Arteta sacked this season, but mark my words, he will not be the man for Manchester United." And whether it's a minority or not, there are some Arsenal fans that believe that. So look, let's discuss it. Let's get in the comments. Are Arsenal under the right path with Arteta, or will it be a long goodbye? Before we get into that, though, and I want to get your comments on it, we'll look at their fixtures, we'll look at where they should be. I mean, I'll tell you in a minute, but the podcast is out today, Goldbridge Saves Football. Give it a listen. It's a cracker this week. We do mention, actually, a really interesting thing. You might want to get in these comments about it, but you can listen to it fully on the podcast. Who will last longer out of Arteta, Ten Hag, Poch, and Howe? But you've got to rank them from who'll be sacked first, who'll be sacked last. It's not just like one answer. So we spoke about that in depth on the podcast. And also on the podcast, one player every Premier League club needs this summer. Realistically, but even if they're not going to do it, what they should be going for. Brilliant listen on the podcast. Thanks everyone who's getting involved in the podcast movement. Goldbridge Saves Football on Spotify and iTunes. Links in the description as always. But back to Arsenal. And look, I think that my first starting point is here. I'm not an Arsenal fan, and I don't attend Arsenal games. I watch a lot of Arsenal, but I don't attend a lot of games. I'm not an Arsenal fan, and my opinion is therefore just as an observer. I don't live, breathe, and consume Arsenal in the way that, you know, it makes me not sleep at night. So if there is an Arsenal fan like that and they're saying, I want Arteta out, then of course they've got a right to say that. It's their club. But the way I look at it is, are Arsenal in a crisis? They're not where they want to be, but I think they're where they should be, if that makes sense. When I look at the league table at the moment and I see this next to me, I see Arsenal in fourth place, 5 points off the top, 2 points off Villa, second place, and joint with Man City. All right, they've got a game in hand. I look at that and I look at, well, first of all, what a great Premier League we've got. It's so condensed in those top 5 positions at the moment. And I look at Arsenal and I go, I'd probably expect them to have another 3 or 4 points. But I wouldn't expect them to have 50. I wouldn't expect them to have 46. So they're not actually far off from where I would expect them to be. So why would you be looking to sack a manager? You've got to look deeper than that. So I presume people are looking at Arsenal, and you might tell me in the comments, he's clearly just not the man. He's not going to take us where we need to be. He's not, he's not a Klopp. He's not a Pep. He's done a good job, but he's got a ceiling. We can see that ceiling. We may as well act before he hits that ceiling, because we've got a bunch of players here that can do well. But in my response to that would be, you've not got Gareth Southgate in charge of Arsenal. You've not got a bunch of players that, are being held back by the manager. He's done a really, really good job, Arteta. He's made some good signings. He's developed players. And when I look at the structure, I feel like Jamie Carragher. When I look at the structure of that Arsenal side, when I look at the players, I don't see them as good as Liverpool. I don't see them as good as Pep. And I don't see them as good as Liverpool. And I don't see them as good as Man City. Obviously, they're not as good as Man City, because City are Pep, treble, infrastructure, money. So you're straight away second best. Now you're third best, because Liverpool are better than you. Liverpool have got a better manager. They've got better players. They've got a better experience. And they've got a better infrastructure. They had a bad year last year, but they've rectified that in one summer. You can only do that if you've got a better manager, a better infrastructure, and a better system in place. So I think Arsenal are behind Liverpool. They're fighting with Liverpool, but I think they're behind Liverpool. And that puts Arsenal as the third best club in England. Well, they're fourth at the moment, and they're joint third. So I actually think Arsenal are where they want to be. Now, the next question is, and I see it asked quite commonly, well, we should be fighting for the title. Why? Why should you be fighting for the title? Before Arteta came in, I'd be surprised if you were going to get the top 4. I didn't see you as a title contender. Over the last 2 years, last season and this season, you are title contenders. But I don't think you're title favourites. And I think that Arsenal fans want to be that, the same as Manchester United fans and Liverpool fans want to be that. We want to be that based on our history, whether it's recent history or history from long ago. We want to compete from titles, and Arsenal fans want to win titles. They've got that self-righteous behaviour, which many clubs do. But is it realistic? Is it realistic? Has Arteta blown the chance of winning a title this year because Liverpool are top now, which will hurt? And the fact that Spurs are a point behind them when they've sold Harry Kane and they've got a new manager, that will hurt. But I don't think so. I honestly don't think so, because I think when you look at Arsenal and you look at where their place in football is, are they the richest club in the country? No, they're not. Are they a club that you expect to be the richest club in England, competing with Man City and Newcastle? No, they're not. So they haven't got that divine right to win the league. You know, it's not like they've got the finances, etc., to say that they're better than everybody else. Have they got the playing squad to be the best team in the league? No, we've just mentioned that. Man City are better, Liverpool are better. Have they got the best manager? No, Klopp and Pep are better. And every avenue you go down, you put Arsenal third. And I think what you've got here is some people feel that this was their chance, or last season was their chance to win the league, which I sort of understand, because you don't want to be close and then not get there. But there are mitigating circumstances why you didn't win the league last year. Man City won the treble. They were better than you. And there are reasons why this season you're not top, because Liverpool are better than you and Man City are better than you. So I think there's a frustration in the Arsenal fan base, which is ultimately going to bother people, but there has to be an element of realism as well. If I was in charge of Arsenal, what I would be looking at is the project that they've been working on in recent years and the progression that is there year to year. Even if Arsenal finish third this year and not second, but go to the quarterfinals or the semi-finals of the Champions League, that's better than last year, because you weren't in the Champions League last year. Obviously, being out of the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, not winning the Champions League, not winning the Premier League is another season without a trophy. But I think what we're heading towards here for Arsenal is a tipping point where I would acknowledge that those who want Arteta out could be proved right. You know, you can always jump on a story before it ever even looks like it's going to get written and say, I told you so. And maybe some people are doing that. I certainly look at Arsenal's next few fixtures and say Palace at home, Forest away, and then Liverpool at home. If they win those 3 games, they'll be right back in a title race. If they don't win at least 2 of those games and maybe get a draw against Liverpool, then questions will be asked. I also look at the summer and next season and the competitive nature of the league and go, Arsenal were second last year. If they're third this year and then the fourth last year, there's a very visible drop-off, and it's about the appetite of the club to make a change or accept that. Logically, I look at Arsenal, and I think one of the biggest things I would say is that he probably does overplay Saka. I don't agree with the Havertz signing. The Raya signing, I've got no problem with, by the way. I mean, some people hold that against him. Some people in the media hold that against him. I've got no problem with the Raya replacement. Ramsdale, Raya, I actually prefer Raya. Ramsdale's a good goalkeeper, but, you know, he's a different type of goalkeeper, and Arteta wanted to do that. When Pep does it, it's revolutionary. When Arteta does it, he's made a massive mistake. I don't think the goalkeeper has been a mistake. I think Havertz looks a bit of a mistake, but you can make mistakes. Like, Pep made mistakes, Klopp made mistakes, Sir Alex made mistakes. You can buy badly and not lose your job. But I think where the real Arteta Arsenal story will be written is that you look at that Arsenal squad and you look at the Liverpool squad, and the Liverpool squad's better. It's got more options in the attack and the midfield than Arsenal. Man City certainly do. I think Arsenal were ahead of the game being in a title race last year, and I think where they are this year is probably where they would have hoped to be on the path. So what they do next year is really important, because you have got the Villas and the Spurs and the Man Uniteds and the Chelseas and the Brightons that want to compete, and you've got the Liverpools and the Man Cities that will compete. So where do Arsenal fit in next year? And what are they going to do in the summer when they need probably 2 strikers, but certainly 1? When they need 2 really good fullbacks? When they need a midfielder to play in next to Declan Rice? Those are the key positions they need to change, they need to develop in. And if they don't, then I don't think they will make that next step. And that's always been my observation of Arsenal. I've seen the slow build with Arteta, and I can still see it. But I think some people expect it to be there now. And I think next season, next summer, really will set you up for where you're going to be. And it's going to be about what you do in the summer. Is it going to be the long goodbye for Arteta? It depends on the ambitions of the club. If he can only stabilise this football club of Arsenal at 3rd or 4th, then they may feel that they can do better than that and they may move him on. But it depends what Arsenal want to be. And in the world, at the moment, in the Premier League, whether it's finances, ability, manager, you are 3rd best. So It's how you get to be second and first best. And I think the pathway to doing that is buying players. Get your comments in below. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. And don't forget, we're live tonight for Carabao Cup semi-final, Middlesbrough against Chelsea, and tomorrow, Liverpool against Fulham. But don't forget to listen to the podcast. It's a cracker this week. One player for every Premier League club that they should go and get in January that's realistic. Check it out. Goldbridge Saves Football. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for watching.